like, honesty is really easy. Just tell the truth. But honesty doesn't have to happen in the moment. And this is a lesson I've learned, right? So I went to see a friend of mine's play, and it was easily the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. If she wasn't in it, I would have walked out. It was awful. At the end of the performance, first question was, what did you think? And she knows I'm an honest broker. She's all jacked up on adrenaline. She's all jacked up on emotion. Now is not the time. But the problem is, I can't lie. We lie all the time to protect other people's feelings. You know, you get given a gift, it's the ugliest sweater you've ever seen in your life. And they go, what do you think? You go, oh my God, I love it, thank you. You don't love it. Don't say you love it to protect them. But you don't have to be honest in the moment. So what I said was, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. It was so amazing to be here and watch you do your thing. I've never sat in the audience and seen you do your thing before, and it was so much joy to see you on stage. All of that was true. That was it, done. The next day, when all the adrenaline had come down and there was no more emotion, I called her up and say, can I tell you what I thought of the play? She goes, yeah. And then I told her point by point why it sucked. But we had a rational conversation the next day. And I think we make this mistake all the time in our relationships, which is we think we have to be honest in the moment, but we don't read the room and understand that there's too much emotion involved to have a rational conversation. You meet emotion with emotion, you meet rational with rational. You can't mix the two.
Do you think there's anything noble in him saying, I'm always going to be honest, I'll just pick the right moments? Or is there actually something to say, you know what, sometimes you can throw honesty out the window for the sake of kindness?
Yeah, sometimes you just have to outright lie. If you're doing it in consideration of a person's feelings, it's a virtue. I mean, there are these holy people who cannot say an untruth. They can't. There's nothing to negotiate. They're just not capable. So that, you know, that conversation is off the agenda because they can't. But for the average person who could be nasty and is on occasion, there should also be an occasion where you lie in order to be nice. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the example that he's giving, he didn't lie. He told the truth. And the question is, why didn't he also tell the other truth? You don't have to tell everything. There are times when you don't tell the truth, but without lying. So in Yiddish, there's this little saying, you don't have to tell the truth, but you're not allowed to lie. So being honest doesn't mean you have to tell. No, you don't have to tell. Just don't lie. So if you didn't enjoy the soup, you don't have to say you didn't enjoy the soup. Ever. Not even a rational moment. But what he did was he doesn't need to apologize or even explain. He said the one nice thing that was true. Well, that's perfect. He didn't have to follow it up with, you want to know what I thought of that? No, she doesn't want to know. If she doesn't ask again, let it go. You don't have to be a critic. Unless he is a critic. He makes his living by being a critic. Otherwise, why? Why do you have to bring it up? Honesty is not always the best policy. Consideration is the best policy. Don't be virtuous at someone else's expense. So you want to be absolutely honest, and therefore you're going to hurt people? You're a monster.
Hmm.
It's a very important principle. Don't be righteous at someone else's expense. There was a famous rabbi in Russia. Some people were visiting with him, and he washed his hands ritually before eating. And his guest said, "It's a mitzvah. Why don't you use a little more water? Don't be so, don't be so." And he said, "The maid drags the water from the river on shoulders. I'm not going to be pious on her shoulders."
Hmm.
It's an important principle.
Yeah. Don't we learn that God himself bends the truth a bit when speaking to Avraham, in order to protect his feelings and his marital relations?
Yep.
Although I
Not
never
by
really
lying,
understood. Yeah, go on.
just by not saying everything that doesn't need to be said.
Well, doesn't he say that Sarah said, how am I going to have a child when my husband's so old? And God said that she said, how am I going to have a child when I am so old?
Well,
Number one, isn't... Sorry?
She said both,
Ah, she said
and
both.
he
Okay.
left out the part.
Right,
And
right,
God
right.
left out the part.
Right. I was always wondering though with that. I mean, Abraham's he's one of the greats of all time. Is he really going to be offended by someone talking about the fact that he's, older in years? Why would that even be offensive to him as someone that's so wise? Age should be seen as a good
Oh,
thing.
the male ego. Don't tell me, emasculate me,
Interesting. Even
even
with
at
an
100
Avraham.
years old. Even 100 years old.
Right. But amazing. Even with an
So
Avraham.
yeah, I think the real impressive part of that is Avraham would not be offended.
Right.
He still wouldn't say it
Mm.
because it is offensive. So to say, "Oh, no, you're grown up. You can handle it. You can take criticism. So don't even if it's true. Yeah, you can criticize him. He can handle it. No, don't do it."
But what about, I think, let's just go back to this scenario of this guy that was speaking. Is there not an important principle, value in friendships, in friends being honest with you, so that, I know some people, they get so aggravated with people that they feel always tell them what they want to hear. And they're like, no, just be straight with me. Was this a good performance? Was it not? I want to know. I want feedback so I can improve. Maybe would you say that is valid, but only when it's invited by the person? If honest feedback is required, then let them invite it. Don't you foist it upon them.
And even when they invite it, they don't mean it. No, tell me what you really think of me. And I do. Well, you didn't have to be that nasty. You could have said it more gently. You could. So you didn't really want to hear it.
I just think people would be surprised, even though I think what you're saying is so intuitive. People will be surprised to hear a rabbi, a spiritual leader, encouraging the idea of bending the truth. Like, isn't truth the absolute religious value?
Yes, not at someone else's expense. Never. I'll tell you a quick story. There was this couple happily married. The husband kept asking his wife, who were your boyfriends before we met? And she said, I don't think we should go there. And he kept insisting that he had girlfriends before they met. He knows that she had boyfriends before they met, and he's okay with that. He just wants to know who it was. And she kept saying, no, 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 let's go there. He wore her down. And he finally said to her, don't even give me the family name, just the first name. And she broke. And she said, I forget what his name. I forget what the name is. Let's say Peter. They were divorced within 4 months.
Wow.
Because all of a sudden, anytime she got upset, he would say, oh, so go marry Peter. Oh, maybe you should have married Peter. He knew that she had boyfriends. But when you put a name to it, he couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand it, the competition. Oh, so Peter would have done better? Was she right to say, I don't have to tell you everything about my past? It's not useful. It's not good. It's not going to make us healthier or stronger. She was right. Don't tell your spouse that you are not innocent. They want to believe you are. Oh, no, I have to tell the truth. All right.
Would you maybe frame it as it's not so much that we sometimes put the truth on the back seat, but that part of the whole truth in life is the importance of being considerate. Like, it is truthful to be merciful and considerate and kind. That is part of truth.
Or when truth is usually helpful. But when it's not, it's not. You know, the middle path is really the path you should always be on. But sometimes you've got to go a little extreme and then get back to the middle path. But you can't make the middle path absolute. You're killing people.
Just going back to this issue with the friend, if I felt I had a friend that was really passionate about doing something, and I really felt that they were just doing it. In fact, I had this very situation a few years ago. A friend that really wanted to pursue a talent, and I just didn't think they would succeed in that area. They just weren't, they were just below par. But I felt they had talents in other areas that I think really they should pursue. Not some people would push back and say, where's the kindness in encouraging them in something that's just going to be a dead end, as opposed to being honest with them and real with them and opening them up to a more fulfilling path that they can actually feel a sense of purpose and self-esteem with.
Well, then it's simple. You simply encourage the other talent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But even if you have to tell them, you're not going to see. It's not going to work. If they want to hear it, and they're going to go do their thing anyway, then your best expectation is they'll learn, and they'll be wiser, but they're determined to do it, so they're just going to have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
You would have to have a lot of authority in a person's life, the other person's life, to be able to say, don't do that. without it being dismissive and insulting.
Yeah. What kind of person does have that authority? A mentor, a parent?
Yeah, yeah. The Rebbe could do that.
Right.
A guy writes to the Rebbe a long, complicated question about should I, shouldn't I could, I would, maybe this, that, the other. The Rebbe writes back, no. And that was fine. With people who don't see the Rebbe as an authority, the Rebbe is always very logical, reasoning, suggesting, maybe. But with someone who is accepted, no need to play around. No.
Hmm.
I guess God speaks that way too. Don't.
Right. Right. You mean through like our life, also through our life experiences? He'll tell us yes and no.
Or thou shalt not. Okay, that's
Right.
it.
Right.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.